Okay, I just want to recap what we've done so far in the course. We've talked about Nietzsche and truth and Platonism and those two questions dealing with the question of truth. Then we moved into the, the, the favorite and beloved character in Plato's dialogues, namely Socrates. Um, and uh, Now I want to move to Aristotle, who was, and we're skipping all over through historical order here. We started with Nietzsche in 1900, then we went, rewind 2,500 years with Plato, and then Socrates around the same time. It's very difficult to say who's saying what, Plato or Socrates, since Socrates is the character in Plato's dialogue. Um, so that first portion really had to do with truth. Then Socrates, the character of Socrates in itself, is something really important for an introduction to philosophy course, okay? And now Aristotle, I want to move just very briefly again, and I'll remember the order. It's Socrates, Plato, Aristotle in terms of historical order. Socrates was the first philosopher, didn't write anything down. Really, the first philosopher. There are philosophers what are called the pre-Socratics, but we don't have to worry about those right now. Socrates didn't write anything down. Plato wrote everything down and had him as the major character in his Plato's dialogues. And then Plato, we said, opened up the academy and then had a great student named Aristotle who waited for Plato to die and then opened up another school called the Lyceum. And Aristotle is often contrasted with Plato, and I'll show this in the next video, in terms of theoretical versus practical wisdom. Now, this isn't a fair characterization because Aristotle talks a lot about theoretical wisdom, but what we're going to focus on now is the practical wisdom of Aristotle, which comes to us from the Nicomachean Ethics. So we talked about with Plato and Socrates more of philosophy and philosophizing as theoretical, as this theoretical exercise that didn't not have practical importance, but that it was about cogitating and philosophizing and examining life theoretically, and then so as to make decisions in the name of these concepts. But Plato is often associated with, and rightly so, the forms and this abstraction, and Socrates as well. Whereas Aristotle, although that's not completely right to say Socrates is always associated with the theoretical, but Aristotle is much more robust in his dealings with the distinction, we could say, between theoretical and practical wisdom, or theoretical and practical knowledge, and that's what we're going to look at briefly. There's no reading for this portion of the course. I just want you to listen to the lectures on Aristotle and practical wisdom, and how that affects the moral life, okay? And the text, if you're interested in looking at it, would be chapter 1 of the Nicomachean Ethics. You can find it online for free. You just type in Aristotle Nicomachean Ethics, chapter 1, and it's very brief. And here he thinks of philosophy in very practical terms as dealing with human choice, okay, and human decision making. Because you think about when you think about wisdom, what is wisdom? It usually has to, the way we use it in common parlance, is that it has to do with making good decisions, okay? So, in summary, moving to the more practical dimension of the course, we're going to look at Aristotle's book, The Nicomachean Ethics, and examine practical wisdom. We've examined more wisdom in general in a kind of theoretical sense with Plato and Socrates, and we've examined truth with Platonism and Nietzsche. Now we're looking at practical wisdom, which has to do with human decision making, okay?